Arsenal 0, Spurs 1. Arsenal lose the North London derby in Hong Kong. And we're going to talk about it. Now, look, I'm going to try and be balanced here. I'm going to try not to There's been two camps, right, after that game. One is it's a preseason friendly. It doesn't matter at all. Don't even bother talking about it. The other is, oh my God, Arteta out, season over. We're going to try and sit somewhere in the middle because I do think there are things to take from every preseason game, right? Which is why we've made videos when we've won and we've taken positives from those games. And I still think there were some positives to take from this game, to be honest with you. But we do also have to look at, some of the issues that we faced today because it was a game of football with the majority of our better players. And at times it didn't look great. So, look, we're going to try and be fair and reasonable. If you do enjoy the video or find it useful, please do like, please do subscribe. We're on the way to 23,000 subscribers, which is phenomenal. And look, without further ado, we'll get into it. It's frustrating that Spurs have the bragging rights. Even though it is a friendly, that's not going to stop them. And we would be the same if we had won it. The goal that we actually lost to, it looks bad, right? That looks bad. Because Raya has been beaten from a long, long way out by Pat Matasar. It's a great finish from Sarr, in fairness to him. But there's been some overreaction, in my opinion, as to actually where it went wrong for Arsenal here, because I don't really think we did anything wrong. David Raya, in the build-up to this, is exactly where he is supposed to be. He stood outside his box, receives the ball, plays it into Miles Lewis-Skelly. At that point, Miles Lewis-Skelly turns Richarlison, gets the better of him, and starts driving through midfield. And we know Miles Lewis-Skelly is very good at that. And it is something that opens up games for us. It's useful. It's beneficial. And then he just gets fouled by Richarlison. Like, there is no other actual way of analysing this. You can see it from the picture. The ball is well ahead of Miles Lewis-Skelly. Richarlison just kicks his ankle from behind, trips him, fouls him blatantly, and the referee just didn't do anything. And literally, the ball, as Miles Lewis-Skelly is going down, goes straight to Sarr, who shoots because there's no time for anyone to adjust to that situation. Now, this isn't making excuses. And again, it's a friendly. It doesn't really matter. In the Premier League, that obviously gets ruled out for the foul on Miles Lewis-Skelly. So I don't think it's worth over-analysing that whole situation and trying to blame Lewis-Skelly or trying to blame Raya when I don't think either of them really did anything wrong. The referee, just a bit of a donkey, and obviously there's no VAR. So no point over-analysing it. And outside of that, did Spurs have a huge amount? I'm not so sure. But equally, neither did we. To be honest with you, if you didn't watch the game, probably saved yourself an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours of your life. It was a bit boring. But there were some familiar problems. And we're going to talk about that before getting into the things that were good to see. Because I do think this is what we look for, right? When we're going into a pre-season, where have we improved? Have we solved this problem? And there are some of them that I don't think we have, and I think that's reasonable to talk about. So the first one of those actually was the fragility defending set pieces. That was something that became a problem really as the season went on. It felt like it was a problem that got worse and worse last season. Now, part of that was because of Gabriel Magalhaes being injured. Actually, Gabriel and Havertz being injured at the same time made quite a big difference there. And we still don't have Gabriel back. But again, today, incredibly, actually, Spurs hit both posts from corners directly. So from one side, Pedro Porro whipped it in and hit the far post after it had gone over everyone. And then, can't actually remember who took it from the other side, but they did it again here. Richarlison, it looks like a horrendous miss from Richarlison. It actually, as he was getting to it, it hit the post and then hit his arm and went over. But ultimately, we could have conceded multiple goals from corners today, and that is definitely something to work on. They kept sticking Van de Ven on David Raya, something that we do with Ben White all the time, right? So you can't complain about it. And we weren't really doing anything to counter that. We weren't sticking anyone else there to try and get Van de Ven away. And again, even at the back post, after it happened once, I'd have thought, stick someone on the back post, but we didn't do that. So definitely something that we need to work on because it's an issue. This is something we've spoken about at length on this channel, right? People say we don't get opportunities in transition. It's not true. We quite often do, especially, excuse me, I need a drink of water. If I edited these videos, it would be so good, wouldn't it? But I'm an unk. Anyway, look, these positions, right? We win the ball back high. And that really, because again, Spurs were playing very defensively today. A lot of the time, 11 men behind the ball. So really, it's only when a team is trying to play out and we win the ball back that we do get these sorts of moments. But we won it back. Martinelli actually did well. He laid it off to Declan Rice. Declan Rice then feeds it into Kai Havertz. And this is where it's not quick enough and it's not clinical enough. And that's the problem. So Rice's ball is slightly slow. It's slightly behind Kai Havertz. Havertz should then just take it first time, but he doesn't. He takes a touch. He wants to go back inside onto his left foot. And it's all just a bit too slow. And it's the sort of situation you see Liverpool in, and they are ruthless in that position. And we're just not. And there were a number of other opportunities. One where Havertz was carrying the ball and just didn't lay it off in time. And you hope, right, that Victor Gyokeres makes a big difference here, and even that Noni Madueke makes a big difference here. But today, our attack was the same attack as last season, so you didn't really get to see any difference in that sense, but the problems were still there. And it's frustrating, as is our left-wing situation. And I don't want to, go over this again and again and again, because genuinely, I don't like doing it, right? I love Martinelli, and he arrived at such a desperate time at Arsenal, and he gave us a lot of hope. But, we can't ignore the fact that in pre-season, both he and Leandro Trossard have looked no better than they did last season, and at times even more frustrating. And maybe it's because we're focusing on it that it becomes more frustrating. But again, today, Reece Nelson came on for the final 7 or 8 minutes, and he looked by far and away the most threatening player off that left-hand side. Simply the ability to stand up his defender, Pedro Porro. And all right, you could say he comes on for the final 10 minutes when Porro is tired or whatever, but the way that he stands them up, and he is direct, he is quick, he can go left or right, it immediately caused problems that Martinelli just wasn't able to create, and nor was Leandro Trossard. And Leandro Trossard actually then went off injured as well. He came on in like the 68th minute and went off in the 85th with an injury, which apparently, I saw a thing from AFTV, they saw him walking around after the game and he didn't look too comfortable. So that's another issue of its own going into next season. But, maybe Madueke is the solution here, but the more preseason goes on, the more and more it's, we cannot go into next season with Martinelli and Trossard being the options again. And I think it is absolutely fundamental that we go into the market for a left winger, be that Eze, or I would far rather we go for Rodrigo at this point as an out-and-out left winger. Another issue, look at this. I think this might be the worst it's been in terms of the actual statistics. 16 shots, 1 on target Arsenal had today. Again, this lack of ability to find the back of the net. And, we'll talk about Victor Gyokeres, who did come on for a little period, but didn't have a shot in the game. 16 shots, 1 on target. And there was part of that I actually liked. Martin Ødegaard was taking more shots than normal. That was good to see. But we dominated a lot of the ball. 56% possession. We did have plenty of the ball. We had plenty of the ball in their half with lots of players behind it. And yeah, you come out of a game without scoring again. And again, how many times did we see that last season? I would actually, even looking at that, I would also say actually the fact that we only created 1 big chance in that game, there's a combination here of chance creation and, our ability, our shooting ability. And by the way, that 1 shot on target, it was Kai Havertz. It was from outside the box, and it literally just went straight down the middle, straight at Vicario. It wasn't even a danger. And then another issue that we have. So going into today's game, no Gabriel, no Jurrien Timber, no Calafiori, no Kepa, who wasn't in the squad. Apparently he got injured in training. We don't know how severe that was. And then Trossard goes off in the game. That's 5 senior players that are, as it stands, unavailable. Now, Mikel Arteta after the game said that he expects all of Gabriel, Ricardo Calafiori and Jurrien Timber to be fit for the start of the Premier League, but that's still not ideal preparation. And I said this on Twitter, always a mistake trying to say anything on Twitter, but people coming back, and all I said was, it's not ideal preparation. And people started coming back, oh, why are you panicking? Like, it's only pre-season. But, this is how you get everyone up to speed for the start of the season. And with Gabriel Calafiori Timber, you're talking, at times, potentially 3 of a starting back 4 that aren't getting up to speed this preseason. So I really, really hope it is not a sign of things to come this season, especially with the sort of PTSD of the injury crisis last season. So, yeah, that's another concern. But look, that's the negativity out of the way. It's not all bad. It isn't all bad. We did get to see Victor Gyokeres for about 10, 15 minutes, and he actually only had 2 touches of the ball. So you might be saying, how was this positive? Those 2 touches that he had, they were inside the box. The ball came in. He had his back to goal, and he took a touch to bring the ball down, and then he laid off Martin Zubimendi on the edge of the box. And I think that was a situation where people would expect him to just... I feel like people's perception of him is that whenever he's in the box, he is just not going to do anything other than try and get into a shooting position and get a shot off. But he is a bit of a creator. I think it's one of the parts of his game that is underestimated, is the fact that he is a creator. And I think he even caught Zubimendi off guard. Yeah, he laid it off to Zubimendi on the edge of the box. And Zubimendi was caught flat-footed a little bit by it. So, yeah, look, didn't have a huge amount to do, only had 2 touches. We hope to see a lot more of him. But that was it. I mean, it was just good to see a striker come on, to be honest with you. Zubimendi. Now, Zubimendi came on for maybe 25 minutes at the end. Norgard started the game, and Norgard was fine. But when Zubimendi came on, again, everything just sped up a little bit. It allowed Ødegaard to get further forward. And I do just feel like he is going to be fundamental to Arsenal this season. Now, by the time that he came on, of course, Spurs are in the lead. They really were just parking the bus. And so there was a lot of work to do to try and break them down. But again, I was impressed when he came on, and it was good to see. Mosquera came on as well. Apologies, that's a really blurry picture. Interestingly, so Mosquera came on. It was Kivior that went off, and Mosquera played at right centre-back, and Saliba played at left centre-back. Now, again, didn't have a huge amount to judge him on, especially defensively, because by that point, Spurs really weren't trying to get forward all that much at all. But he looks physically very, very capable. His recovery pace looks really good. And on the ball, looked incredibly comfortable. His range of passing was really neat and tidy. And so ultimately, yeah, it was not a huge amount to write home about again, but as impressive, I suppose, as it could have been. Max Dowman came on for maybe 15, 20 minutes at the end. Look, I'll be honest with you. He was more threatening off the right than Saka, to be completely honest with you. And what is so impressive about him for me so far is, first of all, the physicality doesn't daunt him at all. And it doesn't really seem to affect him. But also, it's like every single action is good. He's not doing anything really where I'm like, oh, that's a bit raw. Oh, that's a bit naive. It's like the ability on the ball is one thing, which is exceptional. Excuse me. But actually his understanding and reading of the game, the decision-making, basically never loses the ball. Or if he is about to lose it, he wins a foul instead. In and around the edge of the box, very, very good. Put a nice ball over to the back stick that Zinchenko got on the end of, which was a chance. Excuse me, might die. And overall, I just thought he was really impressive. And again, even like this moment, the ball dropped to him on the volley, on his weak foot. It was probably the cleanest strike anyone had all day. We had 16 shots. A lot of them were scuffs. There was one where Ben White pulled a really good ball back to Ødegaard, and he scuffed the shot. This one, on the volley, I might actually die. On the volley, on his weak foot, and unbelievably pure strike. Got blocked, went for a corner, but yeah, he just looks very, very impressive. And again, without wanting to overhype him, like he comes on and you're just drawn to him, like talent. And then look, this was we'll talk about I guess everyone else. Raya again looked a little bit shaky under those crosses today. Outside of that, had nothing to do. They had one shot on target and that was their goal. So that was that. Interestingly, White, Saliba, Ødegaard all played the full 90 minutes. Now, wasn't sure what to make of that. I mean, defensively, I can kind of understand, maybe Marley Salmon comes on for Saliba. Not today, though. Neither Nichols for Ben White. I guess Arteta is maybe trying to get that trio, back clicking again, because really they didn't play much together last season at all. And they were all fine. Ben White today, Again, the overlapping runs were there. Put a really good cross in, first-time cross at one point. Pulled the ball back to Ødegaard, like I said. Didn't overlap as much, but they had Odegaard at left wing, who is genuinely really lively, so I understood that. I thought Ødegaard was decent today, to be honest with you. He looks sharper. He looks more confident. But I was still surprised not to see Nwaneri. Nwaneri did not come on. And that was surprising because, by the way, even off the left-hand side, I'm at the point where I'd rather see Nwaneri off the left than Martinelli or Trossard. But undoubtedly, I would rather see Nwaneri there just to see if it makes a difference, to see if it works. And I think it would. In the end, we saw Trossard come on and then Reiss Nelson. In the midfield, Norgard. You know what? He's a good screen. He is a good screen. A couple of times, actually, Kudus was on the break, and I thought Norgard did really well. Kudus is rapid, he's strong, and Norgard did really well to basically just sort of guide him towards the edge of the pitch and make him turn back on himself instead of letting him get away on the break. Rice today, I thought, looked a little bit below his best. Physically, looked like he was a little bit leggy. His deliveries weren't good either, to be honest with you. So, yeah, questionable game from him. People are worried about Miles Lewis-Skelly. I thought Miles Lewis-Skelly had a good game, to be honest with you. Like I said, he got fouled for their goal, and outside of that, I thought he had a decent game. And, outside of that, it was kind of as you were, the front three. Yeah, we've seen it all before. So, look, that is it pretty much. We now wait until the squad come back. The next preseason friendly is on the 6th, I want to say. It is on the 6th, Wednesday the 6th, next Wednesday against Villarreal. And we should see Madueke back at that point. So that'll be interesting to see if he actually gets much game time. Wait and see how bad Trossard's injury is. And yeah, this was just a bit of a momentum dampener, is what I would say. It's not the end of the world, right? It really isn't the end of the world. But we were building some momentum. We were getting excited about certain things. And this is just a bit of a setback in that momentum. But no point completely losing our heads over it. So look, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do like, please do subscribe. We will be back tomorrow, I expect, with a live stream on the channel. So turn your notifications on. If you want to continue the Arsenal conversation, get yourself down into the Discord below. And other than that, have a fantastic evening. We're approaching the weekend, so I hope you enjoy that. And I'll catch you all on the next one. But until then, goodbye.